Welcome back to Imagine Better, everybody. This is Mark Powers, your host, and today in the Imagine Better studio, filming episode 13, the connector of all humans of the universe, Mr. Terry Bean himself.
What up, dude?
Welcome.
Hey, how mad are you going to be when you realize that it's actually episode 12?
It is episode 12.
Yeah, but you said 13. So is that going to mess you up?
Did I say 13?
We going to just
Are you messing with me?
I wouldn't mess with you, dude. And I would prefer 13, right? So maybe you just slide somebody in between so I can be 13.
Yeah, we could try that.
That was my number. That's my
Did I really
jam.
say 13? If I said 13, it's episode 12.
Yeah, well, listen,
I might have. You're hearing things or I'm not remembering.
I'm sitting here paying attention, hanging on every word you say, dude.
I believe that.
Come on.
All right.
We could just roll
12.
back and look. All right. So it's episode 12.
Oh, no, there's no editing. This will roll.
Well, I'm saying we could just, you could watch us watching us.
That would be interesting.
It would be like Spaceballs.
That would be.
Everybody knows I have coffee when I watch Radar.
That's right. That's right. So you're back. What do you think of the new studio?
New studio is fabulous, dude. I miss being able to rub legs with you while we're recording.
Yeah.
But this is nice.
Well, we can do footsies down here.
Don't act like we're not going.
They can't see that.
We're definitely doing that the whole time.
Oh, so man, you've been busy since I last saw you. I mean, you're just a guy on the go. You're like the king of podcasts. I mean, everyone wants the Bean Meister.
It's fun,
Mr. Terry Bean, will you be on my show? You're like, okay.
You put it out in the universe, what you want to achieve, and all of a sudden everything just kind of conspires to make it happen, right?
Right.
So I said earlier this year I had a goal of guesting on 100 episodes, on 100 different shows, and I don't know if I'm going to hit it. Between you and me, just us two, I haven't even been counting.
Close your earmuffs, everybody.
Yeah. I haven't counted because it was just like a number that I put out there that seemed hard to reach. But this has got to be close to 40, and we're in July, so I'm off. I'd need to do like 3 a week for the next several weeks to get on track. And I've got a lot scheduled still.
Right.
But whatever, dude. It's been super fun. I get to talk to people, hang out with cool folks, and maybe share a bit of wisdom every now and again.
Well, we're here today, the Dao of Bean Bean.
I like your enunciation, and it turns out that is really important because bean sounds so much like bean that one might get confused by it.
This guy did. So when we first started talking about the topic for today's episode, just like I thought I said episode 12 and he heard me say 13, I thought Terry said the Dao of Bean Bean.
That's true.
And then you corrected me on LinkedIn one day, and it's Bean. So
Bean.
Listen, speak once, listen twice, or something like that.
Something.
So here we are. We're here talking about the amazing life of.
Yeah, whatever we're going to talk about, right? But it's like the philosophy, right?
Right.
It's literally the word Dao means the way or the path.
Yes.
Right? So if we're breaking that down, I love the idea, because normally people come up and say, you've got specific knowledge on this or that or this other thing, and we're going to focus on those things.
Yeah.
But I'd rather focus on, how the hell did you end up having people even want to ask you for your specific knowledge or wisdom? Right. And you, my friend, seem like the great guy to have that conversation with.
Let's rock this out.
Yeah.
So tell us, what does this mean to you? I mean, you've been on an amazing journey since I've known you. We've known each other for a long time. And you and I have been on phone calls together talking about our life struggles, talking about that journey, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting here brainstorming several times, I remember, over the years that we've known each other, and here we are, and every year you just evolve.
I'm having a flashback. We had a meeting on this road. We're on Big Beaver not too terribly long ago. Well, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Maybe it was at the university. What's... Northwood. We had a meeting, and you were doing an event there. Yeah, man, and we did a little strategy session.
I remember that now. God, that must be at least 6 years.
Just the other day, dude.
Yeah,
just the other
around
day.
the corner.
Just a couple weeks back.
I look about 6 years older now, but 15 pounds probably heavier, but hey.
If you look 15 a year or two, good Lord, I'm looking like I'm 80. I did not bring a walker in here, people. I'm not there yet.
He left it out the door. Guys. Don't let him kid you.
I did park in the really cool handicap spot with the thing, though.
Right.
No, I did not. I did that once. I used to deliver pizza.
Right.
And so when I was in high school, I'd deliver pie, and, you know, I was obnoxious, right? Music way too loud, run into the apartment building, park in the handicap spot.
Right.
Because you're only going to be in there for 3 minutes anyway, and you're going to be gone. One day, I came bouncing back down the steps of the apartment,
right.
and I looked and I saw the lady on the other side of the sidewalk. They had 2 spots, and I was in this one and she was in this one.
Right.
And they were helping her into her wheelchair. And she gave me this look like, you son of a bitch.
Right.
Get out of our spot. And I've never parked in a handicapped spot since. Now, I will park to the left of the handicapped spot.
Exactly.
Be even closer. I'll park in the roadway, but I will not park in a handicapped spot.
Yeah. See, that's a life lesson learned.
It was, man. Early on.
You didn't want to get your ass beat by some, elderly lady trying to get in her vehicle.
Imagine getting whooped by a cane, man.
No,
How does that feel? How does that look? What are the optics here? Man, and I would just lay down, right? And then I'd have to live with that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Didn't want that.
No, that's fun. I mean, I think we all do stupid shit like that over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm a king of doing stupid shit.
I love stupid shit.
I'm learning my lessons on a daily, and this show helps me. And and being surrounded by awesome people like you. And I mean, I've had some really cool cats on this show. These guests. I mean, this is your return visit.
True.
Obviously, the sound's better, the lighting's better, the quality of this episode's going to be vastly better. You know, I tell people all the time, the inaugural pilot, which I loved, by the way, the content was great, conversation was great, the visuals and audio, everything sucked. The lighting sucked, everything sucked. But only everything sucks some of the time. That's awesome. We were just grabbing
like a branding moment, man.
It was. I had
on it.
So but here we are, and so I want the world to kind of dive deeper into who this Terry Bean guy is. What gets you up in the morning besides in the summer paddle boarding and doing yoga and stuff on the lake. Do you do that? Do you do yoga on the paddleboard? You ever tried that?
I've done it a few times.
How many times you fall in?
All of them, right? All of the times. And so the balance on the board is one thing, right? Just boarding. The balance on the board in poses is a whole nother level. And so I try and keep those things separate. My favorite thing to do on the paddleboard anyway is to be on board to wherever I go. I go to this little private cove where there's not a lot of boats. It's not too wavy normally.
Right.
I jump off the board. I throw my legs up on the board. And then I just float like this, dude. And then if I'm really into it, I'll work on my breathing and my breath. And next thing I know, it's like hallucinogenic time, right? Because I'm focused on one point out in the clouds, and you can hear the thump and the depth. And I've never taken DMT, but from my understanding, it's the same experience, right? You can reach that state of consciousness if you're doing it. And for me, much love to Dr. Paula Ruffin, but I don't need a chiropractor because I'm getting my stuff in line and aligned.
Nature's
in the water. Yeah,
dude, that sounds like the epic form of meditation right there.
So good. It's so good. And then eventually you'll hear the motor of a boat go by and the prop spinning, and then you'll freak out because you'll have the vision of getting all diced up in the prop, even though they're like 100 feet away.
Right.
But that visual is really hard to stay focused and stay calm on. Yeah. Well, people come up to me all the time. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, bro, you wish you were as okay as I am in this moment. You would love to be this okay.
I can see that. If I'm driving by in a boat and I see this person over the edge of their paddleboard floating, you would think they'd knock themselves out and they're dead.
Right.
I mean, come on. It's a legit question.
It's very fair, and I'm appreciative of the fact that I have neighbors that are kind.
They're caring.
They
and kind.
care.
They're looking out for you, Terry.
And they want to make sure that I'm not dead. And so now when I hear it, I usually just throw a thumbs up because I want them to know that I'm alive and well, but don't disturb my groove, dude.
No, I love that. I mean, so, talk to me about this Dao of Bean, man. I want to know what your thought was when I presented this topic to me.
Yeah, I love that. So for me, right, I told you it's a path, it's a way.
Right.
And so I got on a spiritual path about 32 years ago.
Okay.
So I was 21-ish, and a young lady that I was dating said, "You have to read the book Illusions by Richard Bach." And I said something to the effect of, "Yeah, sure, let's go back to doing what we were doing before you brought that up." Right? I don't know, I wasn't mean, but I couldn't have blown that idea off anymore.
Right.
2 days later, I was working at a bar in the time, and I can't call him a bouncer because it was an Irish pub. We didn't bounce anybody. We wore ties. You can't be a bouncer in a tie. We were doormen, right?
You'd probably be more intimidating.
Well, yeah.
Like, what's this guy?
Or easy to strangle. One of the two.
There you go. You probably want to eliminate that.
That's right. So the tie's not a great thing for I worked at a bar before where we wore like referee shirts.
Okay.
Right? And you actually had to throw people out of the bar.
It was like Roadhouse all over.
Yeah.
More dressed up.
Different vibe, man. So I'm working at the bar, and the guy I'm working with is the president of his fraternity at U of M.
Okay.
He's a 3.6 or 3.8 grad GPA. He's pre-law. He ended up going to Northwestern for law school.
Okay.
He was a power lifter, so he was a big dude.
I want to mess with him.
Right. So he had all these things going on, and he says to me 2 days after this young lady said it, "I'm reading this book right now, and you've got to read it." And the book was Illusions by Richard Bach. And I said, that's pretty weird that of all the books in the world that these two exceedingly different people recommended the same book in the same week. I better read this book. So I read the book, and good book, really good book.
And they don't know each other.
They've never heard of each other, think of each other.
That's a sign right there.
Know anything, right?
Yeah.
I've never really been a fan of coincidences, and I could argue for hours that they don't even exist.
Okay.
Synchronicity exists.
Yes.
Right?
I believe that.
Right? But coincidence is synchronicity. And so I read the book, and I tell the young lady, book is good.
Yeah.
And she's like, cool. Now read this. And she hands me a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman.
Oh, wow.
And there isn't a book that I've recommended, with the exception of The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which I think should be required 5th grade reading worldwide, and the consciousness on this planet would elevate within a generation. But aside from that book, Way of the Peaceful Warrior is the book that I read most, live most, love most.
Nice.
And I've read a bunch of his stuff. But that set me on a path, because I read both of these books while in the midst of taking a comparative religion class. So at the time, 92, there were about 24% of the population was Christian.
Okay.
Which meant that roughly 76% of the population on the planet was destined for hell based on what I'd learned.
Right.
And I'm like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem right. These two books, that class, looking at Hinduism, looking at Buddhism, looking at Taoism, looking at Judaism, looking at Christianity, of course, looking at Islam, blew my mind wide open. And shortly after that series of events, I took on a really interesting perspective. And that perspective was, if we were to read the Bible in the first person, right? I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me.
Right.
And internalize that as a single truth, right? That's a really cool way to operate.
Right.
Right? I'm God.
Yeah.
I'm God. But in order to fully accept and embrace that idea, what you have to do is recognize, so are you. Right?
That's
so are
interesting.
you.
That's an interesting
So are
perspective.
you. So are you.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're walking through life operating as if everybody else is God. And now, if you were to meet your maker, how would you treat them? How would you show up? How would you behave? You would be like, well, they're God. I have to serve them.
Right.
So that
like
makes
that
it a
perspective.
really easy way to be focused on service. And you mentioned it earlier. You might have mentioned it in the first take that didn't, wasn't 40 take that we're on now. That where, I'm a human connector. Right? A connector of humans.
Yeah.
And for me, being able to put the right people together, even there are times when I don't even know why I have to connect them. I just know I have to.
Right.
Right? And then all of a sudden, a year later, like, oh, I got this phone call, this amazing thing happened as a result of this relationship that you started, is my way of serving.
I don't know if I've never heard anyone call you that ever. That's just me. I ramble that out, and I say that about you all the time because you are the connector of humans. I mean, everyone who's been in that seat on this show talks about you. Your name comes up every single time, every episode.
Nice.
and in fact, the last one with Joe Bruce the other day, her and I were talking, and heck, Svetlana as well, and even Jay Johnson. I mean, everyone has sat here and mentioned something about how they met this Terry Bean guy.
This Terry Bean.
And I remember when Princess Castleberry was here, and she was talking about the first time she met me, but the first time that she ever got up to do public speaking, and you're the one who encouraged her, and it was at that one that you invited me to at Imagine Theater in Royal Oak.
Life Better series.
And from that moment on, it's just been up, just skyrocketing for her.
Dude, I'm like want to take notes from Princess now. Right?
Her stage presence is amazing.
She's so good. Yeah. She's if you don't know Princess, I think she's probably 5'1". That's with heels on, and sorry, Princess, but you know you're not tall. She's like 7 feet tall on that stage, dude.
Yeah.
She's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And her message is on point, and she's good, and she's engaging, and she's royalty. Right?
She is, and it's a real name, everybody.
Yeah, Princess Castleberry.
Yes.
Are you like she just waited to meet Brian to somebody that had the right name?
The right name.
Right?
Yeah.
You might have been able to get in there. Princess Powers has a good ring to it.
Yeah.
Princess Bean, no one's doing that. That's not a thing.
You never know.
But Princess and the P though.
Princess and the P.
That's really. I might be underselling myself.
Yeah. I think so.
She's cool, man. She's super cool. And thank you. I appreciate that. I was actually listening to the episode with Svetlana, and I stopped. I was cutting the grass while I was listening, and I literally stopped to text each of you together, each of you separately on like 4 different occasions. And then I went in and I played the part where you were saying nice things about me to my wife, and even she got a little misty about it. So that was cool.
Yeah, you've impacted my life. Well, you're the reason why we're sitting here today. Well, to have this show, because you know what I've been going through.
Yeah.
And you might not know the darkest moments of it and the depths of my journey, but you're somebody in my trusted circle that one day I reached out to, and I was thinking about this thing, and I already had the logo, I had everything built out, because I was thinking, you know me, as a brand guy, for me to internalize it, I need to visualize it. And so I created the logo, I had the format, and I texted to you, and you were like, you responded back like, yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like, yeah, that's badass or something like that. And, you know, and you were like, oh, hey, I want to be on your show. Let's do that. Let's do this film. Let's do the pilot.
Yeah, because you weren't sure, right?
I wasn't
sure. You weren't
sure.
sure that you could sit and hold that seat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spill some tea here. We've had a conversation. There are times before you record that you're still not sure you can sit and hold that seat. And I will say that I wanted to do this talk with you because of the depth of conversation that you're able to get people into.
Yeah.
And I mean that from heart, soul, body, spirit. That is important, right? Your ability to not only listen, but to hear not just words that are said, but words that aren't said. And direct a conversation is powerful. I've said for years, you can only meet people as deeply as you've met yourself.
Wow, I've never heard of that. I've never ever heard that. That is so true, because now on this, where I've been going and where I'm going, where I've been and where I'm going, that just resonated deeply with me because I see things differently now. I am a different human being to this day than I was a year ago because of the depths of that darkness and getting guidance and clarity around my own life. And I love your perspective about the first person of the Bible where you start to, you are God, I am God. You start to look at people a lot differently. So yeah, thank you. I mean,
when you look through the eyes of God, all you see is God.
Yeah.
Right? And so if all of a sudden the rocks, the trees, the waterfalls, the plants, the earth, the people, the animals, the whole thing is part of that consciousness, you're going to do everything you can to not disrupt the balance.
You've gone through, you've shared your story, but what was interesting, and I didn't realize this until Jay Johnson was on this show. You know, he's the owner, as you know, the Behavioral Elements.
I do know that.
And
I love that guy.
I saw, I mean, your book hits on this stuff. A lot of what you do nowadays evolves around those 4 elements, or was it 5? No, 4.
It's 4.
And so that was interesting when he shared that. I'm like, wow, you sound like Terry Bean almost. He goes, no, Terry, you know, he was part of my course. So what led you into that? Because I mean, your spiritual journey's taken you a long ways, and then you said, these 4 elements are going to evolve me even further.
I'm a certified guide with behavioral elements, and the story behind that is phenomenal. So if you look closely, right, you'll see fire and water on this little talisman here. Right? Turquoise is the water, the fire is the copper, right? And so I commissioned this to be made back in 2021. And the thought being that I need to be fire, right? I need to be absolutely spreading flames that land in people's bellies, that get them fired up, motivated, take action, go do the things. When I'm on stage, when I'm on a podcast, when I'm coaching, I need to bring the heat. And when I'm not doing those things, I need to remain cool, fluid, adaptable, resilient, and keep moving forward. So to me, that was what water represented. And so about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I started playing around with the idea of, what if I replaced the DISC assessment? I like the DISC assessment because it gives you some insight about you. It gives you a little bit of insight about other people, but it's not recognizable. I've been telling people to take the DISC for a dozen years. I can't tell you what the S and the C stand for right now. Still.
I've taken that thing so many times, but yes, it's confusing.
My I's through the roof, right? My D's really high. The S and C show up barely. I've been telling people the Myers-Briggs even longer. And I love that assessment, but I have never been able to sit with someone in an hour and figure out all 4 of their combination. I can get 2 or 3 of them and be bang on, but the rest of it, Doesn't matter. So I was like, what if we create something that's not only insightful for you, but informs you of who you're dealing with, and you can actually pick it up in real time. And I was a huge fan of the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender. My kid was 3 or 4 when it came out. We watched Friday nights, that's what we did. And I've seen it 6 times since then, right? In the 3 seasons. And I love it, man. And so I am sure that the water, earth, fire, air was top of mind from that. I like this from the necklace perspective, so those were the 4 categories. And I started writing down the characteristics, blah, 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 blah. And I started speaking about it. And I was at 3 different presentations where I shared these ideas. They were well received. One day I'm meeting with my buddy Steve Lois, and I talk to Steve once in a while, and Steve says, what are you excited about? What are you working on that's new and super cool? And so I download this whole thing about these 4 elements, and I tell him all about it and how excited I am to be building this thing to replace disc. He said, you must follow Jay Johnson. And I thought it was a question, but it might have just been a statement. But I thought it was a question. I said, I don't. That name doesn't ring a bell. And so I went home that day, typed into LinkedIn, Jay Johnson, found him, saw the private messages. He and I were already connected. We had messages between us from 4 or 5 years before about TEDx Detroit. And I was like, I got to talk to this guy. So, when Steve said, you must follow Jay, I said, no, why? He said, you're going to love this. Jay created training, coaching, and presentation modules based on his assessment that measures 4 areas called behavioral elements, and the outcomes are water, earth, fire, and air. And I was like, what? Bro, what? And I'm like great at ideation. I'm incredible. I am the best damn starter you're ever going to meet. Let's not talk about my ability to finish, people.
No, that's most of us out there.
Right? I'm so good at the ideation. And I'm really good at executing the things that I really believe in and still matter, right? I'll stay with the problem as long as it needs to, and I'll figure it out. Because that resilience piece. And so anyway, I talked to Jay, we meet up. Fall in love with the guy, right?
Oh, he's awesome.
Fall in love with the guy. And, I said, I got to get you on TED stage. You got to be talking about this. And he was nice enough to say, I've got this certified guide course. You should get into this. I think it would really resonate with you. And I was like, all in, bro. And so that's how that went down. And that TEDx event was a year ago almost, and the course was a year ago almost.
All came together.
So we've been working together for a while, man.
That's awesome.
But that's so I was coming at the exact same problem that he'd already solved. And
that's crazy how that works out. I mean, you're already going down this path, and here he has it.
Already has it.
He built the roadway.
20 miles from where I was having the conversation, right? You think about it, he could have been anywhere in the world. And he's 20 minutes away.
Good job, Jay.
Yeah, dude. Very cool.
Awesome.
So watch the episode to learn more with Jay Johnson. It's probably episode 9, 10, somewhere in there. 10. Watch episode 10 with Jay Johnson to get dialed into what this behavioral elements piece is. But it's magical, dude.
I started checking it out. I mean, I haven't subscribed to that program. Maybe that's something that would help me with my journey right now where I'm at. But it fascinates me. And I see your posts on LinkedIn, across social for that matter. And you break these elements down for a lot of us. Yeah, the thing I want to know is, we all go through this journey. We're all collecting experiences in this journey. And a lot of people can look at the life of Terry Bean and say, this guy's a happy-go-lucky dude. He's a family man. He's successful. Share what's some of the dark moments that helped you get where you're at. I want to know the juice, baby. I want to know the juice.
It's funny.
Should I get some Kleenex?
Yeah, right. I might use it the wrong way in here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
We don't.
Earmuffs.
We don't want that. We don't want that. So there's plenty, right?
Right.
You don't get to some sense of, let's call it enlightenment,
Right.
without lots of darkness.
Oh, so true.
And so the word guru, right? The word gu in Sanskrit means dark.
Oh, does it? Okay.
The word ru in Sanskrit means light. So a guru takes you from dark to light.
Interesting. I never knew that.
And so I don't really think of myself as a guru, but I'm a guru, dude.
Yeah.
Because I did it, and I've done it for way too many other people. And I would keep doing it because I love it.
Right.
And so what's the darkness, man? As you get older, you realize that there's like 5 or 6 really pivotal moments in our life that shape who we are.
Right.
And to me, those moments don't matter nearly as much as how we respond to them. And there's a distinction in my mind between reacting and responding. Most of us are on autopilot and react. What you need to do is go into manual overdrive and respond.
Right.
And the distinction is a reaction's kind of gut, and it happens in an instant.
Yeah.
A response requires some level of processing, not only through your gut, but through your heart, through your brain. And if you've got any sort of cosmic connection, whether you call it God, the universe, source, whatever that energy field is that you know is bigger than just your meat suit,
Right. Meat suit.
you run those through those 4 filters, and that informs your response.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I'm adopted, right? Step 1, I'm adopted.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Nah, it's a thing, right?
It happened.
It's a thing.
That's a thing.
So day 1, I'm abandoned,
Right.
right? Just kind of left behind. Grateful, right, that I was born when I was, because, maybe if I was born after 74, after Roe v. Wade, maybe I'm not even here.
Right.
But here's the thing.
That's a crazy thing to think about.
Here's the thing. I might not have this name. I might not have this beautiful
Handsome face.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lovely look. I might not have some of that stuff, but I'd be here, right? Because we could get into the energy and what what the opposite of the meat suit is.
Right.
The bean part of being bean.
Right.
Right. But so adopted's a thing, right? 4 years later, my parents are divorced. The adopted parents are divorced.
Right.
So there's some trauma and some drama that happens there, but most of it's no different than anybody else whose parents were divorced, right?
Right.
Mid-70s. I was early. Most of my friends' parents were still married. Then they got the divorce bug like 5 years after that.
Okay.
Which is what it is. And then there was some sexual abuse from a relative, and that's kind of weird. And then there's getting yanked from living in Michigan to moving to Minnesota.
Right.
Right. In between 5th and 6th grade, when in Michigan, 5th grade, 6th grade moves into middle school.
Right.
In Minnesota, 5th grade moves into 6th grade, and it's still elementary school.
Okay.
So wild times
That's
back
great.
then.
Yeah.
At least I got to go to the top of the elementary school,
Right.
right? So that was cool. And so there was some lack of adjustment going on there, which was interesting. There was a very specific moment right before 7th grade. We do the orientation, and I'm at the orientation with my mom. And one of the people I knew from 6th grade says, "Hey, Bean, what are you doing here? I thought you were moving back to Michigan." Because the deal my mom said, and by the way, my ex-stepfather, we just refer to him as the asshole.
Okay.
Right? We don't even use it. He's just the asshole.
Just the asshole.
And it's, we're talking 40 years ago, right? Still the asshole. My mom heard this, "Hey, Bean, what are you doing here? Thought you were moving back to Michigan."
Right.
Because the deal was, if you move out there and you don't like it, after a year, you can move back home.
Right.
Because dad was still here. And honestly, I would have done it if I didn't have the sense that it would be like reaching into her chest, pulling her heart out, throwing it on the ground, and jumping up and down on it. Right? I would have been gone if their relationship was stable enough to sustain her without me being there. But that wasn't, and so there's some weird sensitivity that I had even back then to know that doing that was going to destroy her. So I stuck it out. And it got fine, right? It got fine. Yeah. I'm adaptable. I'm resilient. Yeah. But I'm those things because of these other things that happen. Right. I spent a fair amount of time not necessarily alone. Let me rephrase. Not necessarily lonely, but alone. Right? There's a difference. Yes. You can be alone and it can be the best time ever. Yeah. It's rare that you're going to be lonely and having a good time. Yeah. My mom said when she wanted me to learn how to walk when I was just 11, 12 months old, she would take my toys and move them to the other side of the rug. Okay. Right? To encourage me to walk. Right. And she said, you just sit there and play with your toes. And it was toes. She did say toes. Okay. Right, yeah, so it was clear. Just so we're clear. But yeah, she's like, you were just like, this is what it is. I'm fine. You were good by yourself? And I was good. And I appreciated that statement. You know, so then I came over back here. Dad said, you go to college anywhere in the country and you pay for it. You go to college anywhere in the state of Michigan and I'll pay for it. So that's how I ended back here the first time. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. So those things, though, those traumatic experiences forced me to reflect, to think, to dig deeper, to understand. And listen, it's not like I was getting my ass whooped every single day. Plenty of people have that story. I wasn't sexually abused a lot. It wasn't happening on a super ongoing basis. And so other people have that story. So I'm not trying to like, my trauma's better than your trauma. But we all have these parts of our lives that help shape us because of those different traumas and experiences. That's it. And so, you know, you can let those define you. Or you can let them inspire you. And or so, defeat you. Or or just make you curl up in a ball. Dude, you talk about some stuff. August 29th, 2016. I was at my wit's end. I was done. Summer as a business coach and a speaker, if you're not building things all year long, that's not harvest period. Fall's harvest period. Summers tend to the crops period. But if you didn't plant enough crops in the spring, you're looking at summer and you're like, man, I got a bunch of dead flowers. I got like this rotten banana. and that's what I had in 2016. And I was if I knew in 2016 that suicide would pay out on my life insurance, I wouldn't be here. I'd be dead. Oh, wow. But I didn't know. So, well, thank God. Fortunately for us, you're here. And so I remember walking through Kroger on August 29th. And I've got an energy about me. I know. I feel people. And I know people feel me when I'm in their presence. I get it. And that day, I was zombified, man. I was walking through there, and I remember thinking, oh, this is how other people feel, Not making any eye contact, staring at the floor, wholly focused on the mission to get whatever I was in there to get and get, And I remember grabbing the stuff, paying for it, going home, and curling up in the fetal position on my bedroom floor, man. And that was a moment that I allowed myself to experience, And I'm a big fan of momentary mastery, so we can put a pin in to define that in a minute. But I'm a big fan of momentary mastery, and so sat with it. I absorbed it. I tried to figure out what the hell are the lessons. And more importantly, what am I going to do to not feel like this ever again?
Right.
Right? Because this sucks. Capital S, capital U, capital C. And it wasn't just some of the time. It was like the whole time.
The whole time. Oh.
And so I did what any speaker would do. I ended up dragging my ass up and I wrote a presentation.
Did you really?
Yeah, and the presentation was originally called Success is in Your Face. And FACE was an acronym for focus, awareness, communication, and execution.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? Those were the 4 things. If your focus is clear and crystal clear and you stay focused
right,
and do the things, you're going to be all right.
I've never heard that like that before. I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, do you use that still to this day?
I've delivered that talk a few times. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Awareness is internal, right? What drives you? What motivates you? How are you sleeping? How are you on the 5 pillars, right?
Right.
How's your relationship status? How's your financial status? How's your spiritual status? How's your mental status? How's your physical status?
Right.
Right? Or wellness across those 5 areas. And then external awareness, right? Do people recognize who you are and what you do, what value you contribute to society? Do you own spot 1 in their mental Rolodex? Right, so that was the external awareness. And then communication was really how you drive that external awareness.
Right.
And then the execution is obviously get shit done.
Yeah.
But
activate and go do it.
Make sure you got the focus to do that piece. And so, that's
interesting.
And so that little presentation deck was a love note to self, right? And it saved my life.
That's solid, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I never knew this about you.
Yeah, no. I was like, let's have a conversation, man.
I mean, now no wonder you are who you are. I mean, everyone, you truly are a genuine heart, soul-led individual who people just admire. And when you get around, you get into a room, your energy does push out positivity and inspiring things. It energizes other people. Like, that's why everyone who comes on here, they talk about you, because you have impacted their lives.
I love that.
You know,
and
you
I'm
really
happy
have.
to do it, man.
And
thank you.
you've, like I said, you've helped me get through a lot of stuff, whether you know it or not. You have helped me even get to this point, you know? And I'm still on my own journey. And I'm getting there, man. You're what?
Me too.
Oh, me too. Yeah. No.
Yeah, dude,
we're still growing.
The whole thing, right? The whole thing is a journey, and it's supposed to be laden with experiences that we're supposed to enjoy.
Right.
But most of us figure that joy exists over here, or when this happens, we'll find joy.
Right.
Here's the secret, people. Once you find joy, once you find peace, once you find love inside of you, you take that shit everywhere you go. All the time, 24/7.
It becomes contagious.
It's there.
There's the virus we all want to carry.
That's the thing, right? And we mess around with too much BS, right? I wrote that last book. It was a love letter to my kid, right? Series of essays to my kid. But it was titled Finding Harmony in the Fucks You Give.
Right.
Because so many of us are like, well, I have 0 fucks to give. I'm all out of fucks. I gave my last fuck. You're getting my last. Listen, we all have plenty of fucks.
Right.
We have too many fucks, but you're just throwing them around willy-nilly because you haven't taken the time to figure out what matters most.
Yep. Well, and I've said it on probably every episode on this on this show. You know, change is loosely thrown out there. Like, oh, I'm going to change. You know, I'm going to make changes this time. This time I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
It's surface. Until you can identify the darkness inside you and be willing to go through that journey, it's painful. It is work. You're not going to change. So once you're willing to do that, you're not changing, you're transformed at that point, right? And that's everything you just said, basically, is how I translate it, is once you carry that, or you identify and you go through that pain and that struggle and that fear and everything else that bundles up inside your gut and that feeling you get, and you're done, that external light is just, it's like the biggest beacon out there, right? And that I love. And I think that's what I definitely think from those 4 elements help individuals, right? From what I've heard and seen from you, what I've heard and seen from Jay Johnson, those 4 elements could benefit everybody.
100%.
And so, like, on, every Tuesday, I've said this before, and you know this now, I go to therapy every single Tuesday for, my little session, 55 minutes of amazing life, challenges, love, direction, guidance, strategy. I'll never stop going. And it's helped me kind of even sit here today and continue this, but my confidence is back up. It's getting there, and I have more energy now than I've had in a long time.
I love that.
So anyways, and again, I thank you for a lot of that, because you've been an inspiring individual, good friend, somebody who does care about me, and you've guided me, and you've also said, no, Mark, you shouldn't, you've given me yes and no's.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years, and smacked me up across the face in cases, but no, so I thank you for that,
listen, man, and this is the other thing that I've said, but I don't know that people have heard.
All right.
I'm a conduit. Right?
Yeah.
When I'm coaching, when I'm training, when I'm speaking, I am channeling a message that you need to hear in that moment.
Right.
Right? People are like, well, how come you don't practice your presentations? Like, because I don't know what I'm going to say, because I don't know what they need to hear until I get there. Right? And so when I'm coaching, I'm a mirror.
Right.
I'm a mirror, so you can hear your heart, you can hear your gut, you can hear your brain, you can hear the cosmic stuff that's coming through.
Right.
And I'm just parroting back what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will offer some insight alongside of it, but I'm making sure you hear you. I had an experience the other day. Someone called me and said, hey, I know TEDx Detroit's opening and accepting applications for speakers.
Yep.
And this dude brought out the big guns. He had a CTO of a large company copied on the original email saying that person thought that he should speak. Right. He had another real famous speaker that spoke in 2011 message me privately. So he was out to get my attention.
Right.
Good for him. And he got it. And he didn't need to do any of that, because I'd have helped him if he just messaged me blindly, because that's who I am. But we were talking, and he said some stuff, and he was kind of going through his philosophy and what he might want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I said, I just want to repeat something you said. And I said it back to him.
Right.
And he's like, do you think that would make a good title for the talk? I said, well, it's kind of why I repeated it to you.
Right.
That's what I wanted to make sure you heard your words.
Yeah.
And so he shaped his whole talk around, again, his words, not mine.
Right. You just pulled it out and said, making it obvious to him.
That's it. Because we overlook so much.
Yeah.
And a practice that I've been messing around with for years is this third-party observer.
Okay.
Right? So you and I are having a conversation.
Right.
But there's a part of my consciousness that's floating above us, watching you and I have this conversation. High five.
High five.
Yeah,
I love that.
Man. And so I can dissect this later from this perspective,
right,
and from that perspective. Right? So anytime we get to see more angles of a situation, we get more information on it. We can make better decisions as a result. I
like that. Wow.
Is this hitting depth yet?
Yeah, it is. I like it. You got my head spinning, and I'm just sitting here nodding my head because, I try to share some of my journey on this show, and nobody really, I want it to be out there because I think, I know I have the skills and experience, and I know I have the story that can help resonate with other people. I need to learn how to package that better, and I've been going. This show's helping me get to that point, but it's when I sit across from my friends, my guests, and I hear their stories or their lessons to be learned in life, it hits home with me, and I internalize it and I start to apply it in my own life. I really generally do.
I love it.
So it's. I don't know. I think I just think being on this show and helping anybody, if it's one person, it's amazing. I just want to pay everything I've learned forward and figure out a way to, you're an amazing resource for people. You provide the guidance and the structure that they need to make changes, to make transformation, right? It's more than just a change agent.
It's that mindset matters, right? Mm-hmm. That figuring out what matters to you and then mapping to it. Yeah. My new phrase that I just said to somebody yesterday, and I've used it 3 times since, is I help you figure out what to do now,
right,
next, and never.
Yes.
Right? Because ultimately, everybody I work with has way too long of a to-do list. They're stressed out, they're burning out, they're anxious, they're frustrated, they're beating themselves up because they only got through 20% of the list and then they added 25% more to it.
Yep.
They're on that hamster wheel. They're not prioritizing fun and joy and bliss and things that really matter.
Right.
They're just stuck in this hamster wheel. And honest to God, if you're a brain surgeon, this advice is not for you. But for the rest of us, those things on your to-do list, if they're delayed by an hour or 2 or a day, in the grand scheme of things, who fucking cares?
Right?
Can I swear on your show?
Fuck no.
No, good. I was worried about that. I mean, I know we're like 9 in. I just figured I'd...
That's right. You wrote a whole book with an F-bomb. What are you talking about?
Hey, I used an asterisk. I was very polite about that.
You did.
I was very polite.
Yeah, I had to look it up in the dictionary to see what that meant. The trending slang terms of saying fuck. No.
That's a good idea, man.
That's right.
I should have defined that. This actually means fucks.
Right.
Yeah, people are probably unclear. It would sell better.
You might have offended a lot of people, but fuck them.
Hey, won't be the last time.
That's right.
Actually, you know what's funny? And you said this earlier. This is the most interesting piece to me. Yeah. I don't necessarily... I hear a lot of very positive things about me.
Right.
I don't hear a lot of very negative things about me. Like one time someone said that I'm sloppy. The gossip on me was I'm sloppy. And it's because I'm usually late, like I was to this today, in that I'm not, 3-piece suit and button down. And I'll never wear a tie again unless I really want to, or it's somebody that really matters that's asking me. Last time I wore one, my sister's wedding in 2018. Before that, it was 11 years. Right? I don't like them. They're dumb.
I'm not a tie guy.
They're dumb. And so she said I was sloppy. But that's it, right? I
don't see you being sloppy. Your approach is be real, be transparent.
I like
be
authentic.
Authentic.
Yeah. Authentic.
You're the authentic being.
I am 1,000,000% who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am. And that level of comfort I have in being me allows everyone in that space to be comfortable being them. Because I'm not here to judge you. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Well,
you give a shit. You're not.
I don't care what you do or who you are or how you behave until you annoy me.
Right.
And you've got a lot of leash and a lot of rope till you get to a point where you're going to annoy me.
Yeah.
Because I got tolerance up the yin-yang, man.
Yeah. So what do we leave everybody with? What's the takeaway from today in the Dao of Bean Bean?
I want to touch on 2 things.
Okay.
Right? I talked earlier about the idea that when you can only meet people as deeply as you've met yourself.
Right.
Here's the next level of that. When you get deep enough into meeting you're going to meet me and all the other people that have done the work.
Wow.
That's how you know you've reached a depth.
Right.
Because that's it, man. That's primordial soup. Right? So you'll know, because all of a sudden insights will flash, synchronicities will happen. People that you thought about yesterday are calling you or emailing you or texting you today. Right? Those kind of things happen all the time.
That's interesting, because that's been happening to me the last 2 weeks. Calls been coming in, and calls haven't been coming in on certain things. And then all of a sudden, like with my company, Michigan CMO, I get this very large cabinet design manufacturer out of California wanting me to be their fractional chief marketing officer. Had a meeting yesterday with the CEO. He just appeared out of nowhere, saw me on LinkedIn, saw all the stuff, went to my website, started following me. Yesterday we had the call, and they loved me. And I was like, but that's the kind of stuff, I was like, all of a sudden this stuff's starting to happen.
That's right.
And it's me being real for the first time in so long. At least I can admit to saying that. Because before, we're all real, but we could be real pieces, like real, not pieces of shit.
You could be real guarded.
You could,
or real masked.
Real something.
Or
not so
really
real.
A pain in the ass.
But it's like, I've grown, and I'm constantly growing. But that kind of stuff, when you meet someone in the, like you're just saying there, in that dark, when you've been down that far, whatever that is, whatever got you there. But it's when you can finally recognize, I am here, and you got to admit to yourself, and you got to be transparent and vulnerable to yourself, and maybe to somebody else. Like I do that to my therapist every week, But I know what it feels like now, and now I'm climbing back up.
I love that. I will tell you that there is no darkness. There's only an absence of light.
Oh, see, I like that.
There's only
a great way to look at it.
Light. And so, we live in a very dualistic society, and it's on or it's off, it's bigger, it's small, it's expensive or it's cheap. That's not really what the world is, man. We'll approach a singularity at some point, but again, that's episode 69. The second thing that I wanted to touch on, and we put a pin in the idea of momentary mastery.
Yes.
Right? And so I had this thought about 16, 17 years ago that at the end of our lives, we're not going to remember what happened on July 24th, 2024.
I bet no.
Right? But we might remember a moment from this conversation.
Right.
There'll be a tip or a nugget, or you might remember we had a conversation. So days don't matter. Weeks don't matter. Months, years, none of that matters. But what matters is the moment we're in. Period. Right? So the whole idea of all the regrets we carry about the things we did before or didn't do, useless. Right? Can you change it? 0% change. Right? Can't change a lick of it.
Nope.
The whole idea of worrying about and stressing out about what's going to happen in the future, you can make some impact. You can make some changes today that will impact the trajectory over here. Right? Yeah. So you can. But to sit there with worry or doubt or frustration, none of that energy helps you create. Right? So you can't be negative thinking about future things, because that sucks the life out of it. If you want to be positive and speak a cool existence, activate something awesome, I'm for it. But even better, just focus on now. And so momentary mastery to me is this very simple idea that when we love the moments we live, we get to live the moments we love.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. And there you guys have it.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for letting me do this, dude. That was,
thank you.
I don't know if it came out. It could have been a total shit show. I have no idea. Was it a shit show?
You guys be the
Drop
judge,
a
but I'm
comment.
saying
was
no.
Was it a shit show?
Yeah,
Or was
no.
it cool? It could have been cool.
Drop a lot of comments. I want to know through this topic what you thought of this episode. Wow, episode 12.
12, it is 12.
Can you believe it?
Unlike 13 in the beginning.
Right.
He's going to watch this, and then he's going to have to issue an apology.
That's right.
You doubted me? Come on, man. I'm sitting right here, bro.
Oh, my gosh. What a great conversation, my friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, sharing with our audience, and look forward to the next steps. And you guys share this episode, share this message. There's a lot of people in this world that can benefit from Terry's knowledge, wisdom, and guidance. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification button so you don't miss other amazing episodes like this one. And again, you guys, love you guys. Thanks for being a supportive part of this show and helping me grow this and reaching more people. Together, we're going to change communities. You guys have a great day. Thanks again, Terry.
Awesome, dude.
Appreciate it.